Hi, this is Will, True North, your broker. Just wanting to go over a few things. Got a couple folks here today. And we're just going to go over some things that might help you in your business and help you get organized a little bit. And maybe just, I'm kind of a numbers guy. So that's everything I think about, is kind of how you can, how you can simplify, what it is you're doing. So, and what I mean by that is, and I know that, I know, Danny, you've set in on a lot of this stuff where it all boils down to the numbers game. How good are you? And how many calls do you got to make to generate new business? Doesn't matter. One of the things that I think most people think in real estate is that they have to be as good as the next guy when it comes to lead generation. But actually what they need to be is more persistent. You need to keep working at it. You need to keep calling. You need to keep, if it takes a guy 100 calls to get one lead and it takes you 300, then you got to call 300 people. That's as simple as it gets. And everything we talk about today really is, going to be based on that, really basic premise. Do you do a lot of lead generation like that? Do you do a lot of calls and things like that?
We're getting started on that.
Good. No, it's great. Yeah, no, it's great. You guys may know my background, you may not, but most of the money that I'm not the picture perfect realtor that gets everybody's name, number, address, email. Never have been that guy. But I'm a guy that believes that if I call enough people and talk to enough people, I'm going to make enough money for me and my family to pay our bills and to have some fun. And I've been 100% right every time. And I've told people these things, and they keep, they ask me over and over, "What do you do? What do you do?" I'm persistent in it. That's what I did. So am I now? Every realtor that I know will go in peaks and valleys, but my valleys are because of me, because you have to keep doing this day after day after day if you want to maintain that level. Doesn't mean you can't take breaks, doesn't mean you can't enjoy life, but you have to tell yourself, I have to do this every day. I know a lot of times this is life kind of sneaks up on all of us. Both of you guys have clocked in and worked. You understand what I have to. So I understand what that means. That means every day I've got to go to work. And the perception to our family, right, is that what? Well, we're at work. They're not going to call us and aggravate us, right? But the perception about realtors is you're around the house here. I got plenty of things for you to do. Your mom calls you at work hours when you're a realtor. Your kids are running around the house, but we have to make sure that we have an environment, if we're going to be realtors, that we go into and that people understand, especially the close people, that we work. This is different. Sometimes I often say it's a lot more stressful than someone might think, that you have to they can't see you physically working, where you can go out and dig a ditch and they go, "Oh yeah." So you got to separate it, and you got to try to get you some time set aside. So I'm just going to go over numbers with you basically today, because in 45 minutes I'm not going to teach you how to be a realtor, right? But anytime you want to schedule with me and sit down and talk about anything, I'm always there. And I'm really better at that than this, because really what I want to do when I'm in here is just be like I am when I'm talking to you in there, which I can go on and on about one subject, because every part of lead gen has a long topic and a description of how it needs to be done and the things that you can do and the different avenues that are involved. So I'll give you a listing example. Have you guys ever knocked on doors in subdivisions? A long time ago. It's a tough way to go, isn't it? Put a lot of miles on some shoes, I can tell you that. But do you know why you're doing it? So
FaceTime.
FaceTime. Yeah, that person knows you now. And so now you can just call. If you can just get permission. Permission's a big word. Always remember, get people's permission, right? What does that mean? Just simply ask, hey, do you mind if I email you occasionally about what's going on in the neighborhood? And if you should sell, do you think you would at least give me a call to come in and talk to you about it? You don't have to list it with me. You know, I do a lot of that. That's kind of my conversation with people. That's not what I'm about. I really would love to help you, but maybe if you see how hard I work and what I do, I might be able to help sell your home. And you'll know I'm out here working. How many other realtors you see out here knocking on your door, asking and shaking your hand? I mean, I'm just saying, if there's a lot of them by here, that's great. But if I'm the only one, then it might speak more highly, you know, of what I'm trying to accomplish. And I do the same thing. All these people's doors I'm knocking on, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know anybody buying a house? Because why am I going to do that? Well, these people in this neighborhood may buy your house. Somebody may in their family may buy your house. They know the neighborhood. So I'm already lead generating to buy your home, for somebody to buy your house. Now, I'm not sure other realtors do that, but I can tell you I'm going to be doing it today, and I'm going to keep working at it and finding people in this area. This is where I specialize. That's why I want to shake your hand. Most people don't think like that, but you know, every person you talk to deserves this question. Do you know anybody listening or buying or selling? Hey, you can work that in. I'm not blunt. But you know, wear a badge everywhere you go. That's not a bad thing to do. A lot of people don't like it, but yeah, every time I've wore one, somebody eventually will ask me, well, so you're a realtor? Yes, I am.
Have you seen the shirts that
What is it?
I'm a realtor, ask me about real estate.
Yeah.
Guys are wearing that literally, they're selling them on Facebook.
I think that's a great idea.
It's pretty neat.
So I made a ton of money also for sale by owners. So I know for sale by owners are tough in the beginning. They have an idea and they can sell it themselves and save themselves a commission. So when we've talked about the different things you do for sale by owners, but I promise you, if you stay with them, sooner or later, they're going to list that property. Could be with you. If you're persistent, give them things, help them out along the way, they'll give you a shot. It may not be every time, but it just takes one good for sale by owner to pay off for a lot of legwork. So when we talk about numbers, well, it's a good time really. I mean, this is some statistics that I pulled up for you. This is a really, and we can kind of keep going over that. Let's see here. So, do you know in your market what the average price range is in Johnson City for a house?
240, 239.
Okay. As of June 25th, it's $278,000. Kingsport, 242. You may be talking about the board, the total average.
I saw a figure recently.
Did you?
Yeah.
Greenville, 220,000. And Bristol, 233,000. The average commission rate's 2.5%, and that's negotiable, but that's the average. And so the commission is $7,000 in Johnson City. And I got a reason for telling you this, so it's not just, so, and then, you know, you have a split, and so, you know, your average commission's about $5,000 each transaction. So, every time I'm going over these, I'm going to reference that. So how many, if all I wanted to do is for sale by owners, how many, and 1 out of every 10 of them is going to produce me $5,000. How many of them would I have to make the amount of money that I want to make? So it's really that simple. Now, are there enough for sale by owners to generate that kind of money? No, and that's why lead gen is important to do every aspect of it. You will not get enough doing just one. So you really need to think about how to do all those things, keep them all, you know, because only people we're interested, what we're really interested in is building up a list of people, right, that we can email. then we can prioritize. That we can say, okay, this is a good prospect. This for sale by owner really talked to me. We had a really good connection. I believe I can work with them, and I've got permission to go back every day. You know, so anytime we go to a door and we knock on a door, and somebody is listing or selling or has a buyer, what's the next thing we want to do? Ask them for another appointment.
Do you know anybody?
Yeah, we want an appointment. We want to set up an appointment with either their lead. Do you have their number? I'd love to call them. Or we want to come back. Do you want to know the price of your home? I'd love to come back. What day's good for you? That's another real important thing that I'll tell you is the second appointment. Everybody you talk to, if you'll keep that in your mind, you know, it's like it should be on the front end when you walk up to somebody, or you're talking to somebody on the phone. The front end of your mind should be, I gotta have a conversation, and I gotta get an appointment to talk to these people, right? I gotta get another appointment. Do they want to know the price of their house? Do they want to buy a house? When can I get with them? I need to know that. I need to set up a second appointment. Now, if you don't have anything, that's great. Don't worry about it. Get permission to call. Everybody sells sooner or later, right? Or everybody buys sooner or later. So you're not always going to win, but you need a percentage. Again, we'll go back. How many? If I meet 100 people and I get one lead, how many people am I going to have to meet per week to reach my goal, right? So if I want to make 100,000, how many at 5,000? How many sales is that a year? 20. So one every 100 is a lead, right? How many leads turn into money? One every 10, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So sometimes it can take, 500 calls, let's say, to get 5. Hopefully, that's a pretty good number. But the better at it you get. I will say this: all your door knocking, all your calls scares the heck out of you, but you will get better at it, and you will get more comfortable at it. You may not want to do it. You may have 1,000 other things you want to do, but you will get good at it, and you will learn to talk to people, and you will learn what triggers them, and you'll learn what works for you. I promise you. I was just as scared as you probably are today, but man, if you ever heard me talk to anybody on the phone, it's just like I'm talking to everybody else, because there's people like me. And that's kind of how I control myself, is just saying, it's just another person, It's no different from anybody in my family. And I dang sure don't care to tell them what to do or how to do it. A bad habit of mine gets me in trouble. But anyway, so just remember that in the back of your mind while you're doing these leads, $5,000 is the number, right? How many leads do we got to get to that 5,000? In every single thing that we're doing, listings, buyers, any kind of gen lead that we're doing, we need to know how many it's taken us. Write down that number. Don't discredit how many calls it takes you in a day. Keep up with that. How many leads you're getting out of it, and how many turn into a sale. Because that's important to you. Because all you got to do once you know that number is put it in play. Open houses. I've got some ideas I hope to be coming up with on open houses that we can all make some money soon. Does anybody know what an open house is for?
Additional business.
Yeah, it's not to sell a house. It's the same with signs. It's the same with newspaper ads. None of those sell houses. Do they occasionally? Yeah. Rare. Yeah. But another one is, and my friends that work at another big company say that social media, Facebook, things like that, it's undervalued by a lot of people. But the people that are doing it every day, and I know Danny, I see your face on there a lot, and it's good. Your people see your face all the time and you're selling realtors. All your friends do. So at least they got you in mind when it comes to buying and selling. You need to follow it up with a phone call, right? Call those people on your Facebook. It always kind of surprises me too. People don't really, they say, well, most of my friends aren't from my state. I don't care. If they're buying or selling, they're still a lead, aren't they? The referral business is probably the most lucrative part of this business. You think about the folks that are on TV, that are realtors, that are asking you or telling you they're going to send you a referral, and you're going to pay them 50% or 35 or 25. They're making a killing, right? Now they've got a networking system, which is they've got realtors that they can send all the leads to, and they've got they've got a call system set up to generate these leads. It's an amazing part of the business that if you haven't ever done it, all those out-of-state people on your Facebook, get their number, call them, see if you can. What does it hurt to say, hey, you want me to send somebody over here? I see you're selling your house. I can get you somebody to come over there for free and give you, kind of go over everything with you. You probably need to know, right? So it's a lot easier than you think. Keep them on your mind. This is one that I need to do more. I'm not very good at, but leverage your groups. Like, for instance, if you go to church, your ball league, local business owners. I know Danny and I've talked about stuff like that a lot. And, it goes right back to what I said. When you talk to these people, let them know what you do. Hey, I'm a realtor. You know anybody buying or selling? You can put it however you want. I'm not never that forward with people. I say, man, if you know anybody, or I'll be glad to help you. I've been in it 30 years. I know I can help you. Or your friends, I take good care of them. So I've got some kind of spiel for everything that I'm saying, but it's just because I've been doing it a long time, and it's just natural, and it will be for you too. You would be amazed at how much business I got just being a ball coach. Right? Somebody's come up to me and go, aren't you a realtor? Would you sell my house? Yeah, be glad to. So in your company, I know you work, right? So how many people are in your company?
Not very many.
Do you got clients?
I've got a potential franchise owner that's...
Okay. How many people are in your company, would you say?
It's really hard to say because there's probably at least like 10.
10?
It's small right here.
Well, 10 people know 10 other people, and those 10 people know. So make sure they all, I know you, Crystal, they probably do know what you do, so just keep in front of them, and that's another good way to lead you in. Don't devalue any of these. Remember, there's not enough of one to make it in this business. So I remember you and I talking, Crystal, and you came in when this business was really hot, and things were boom, man. All you had to do was just get something, and you made money. Well, I'm the same way. I like to hit it hard and get a big bunch of money. That's fun. The only problem is that niche marketing and niche selling and listing, it all ends. Niches never last. They just really don't. No matter how good they are, everybody will catch on, and eventually it'll wear itself out, right? I hope it goes on long enough to make you filthy rich, but it won't, in all likelihood, right? You'll hit a good lick, but don't ever quit doing each one of these things. Don't ever stop doing it. If you want to be successful, if you want to be a good realtor, if you just want to make a little bit of money, that's fine. That's some realtors do that. If you want to sustain yourself in this business, it's all about your contact list. It's all about building up all the phone calls. I don't know how many phone calls. How many phone calls have you made, Danny? Would you say?
From when I started?
Uh-huh.
Oh, God.
Just a guesstimate.
Several thousand.
Several thousand calls.
Yeah.
Have you been able to get any contacts? Build a contact base for that?
A little bit. I mean, I was really bouncing around trying to figure it out, but it builds that foundation, that skill set, being able to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just open that line of communication, and then what to say, what not to say. It's not just talking to people; it's a conversation about real estate.
100%.
You know, I can talk to people, but the knowledge base and the questions that you get asked, if you don't know, you can go find out.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the education, as far as I'm concerned.
So let me say this. Are you more comfortable now doing it than you used to?
Much so, very much so.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out there, don't you?
Again, I talk to people my whole career,
Yeah.
but it's a different arena.
It's a whole different arena.
So it's a different approach. It's, you know, you and if you want to be that authority, and the way Tim comes across, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same mentality I have. I like to educate myself, you know. And so you get the questions, the hard questions, and you have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it pays off in the long run.
I can tell you one word that'll make you give you a lot of information. YouTube.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is go there. If you want to know how to talk to people on the phone, there is a huge amount of people out there that help you do it, and give you how to get you through the objections, which we've had classes on objections. If you have time, anybody that's listening, or Crystal, spend a lot of time on YouTube listening to people do cold calls. Podcast, yeah. Wonderful tools. Some of the best in the business is willing to tell you for free how they do it. And they impressed me. I mean, I thought I could do it. These people are so good. It's sick.
Pretty good. I've seen you.
Well, I mean, you know, I think I'm pretty genuine. Some of these people are animals, man. They're animals at what they do, and I don't put myself. I mean, I think I'm just a natural guy that people tend to like. They hate to tell me no. I know that, so I just be me. And usually they tell me yes eventually, you know. But that's my niche, you know. But there's a business guy that quotes numbers. That's very business. That has a good pen. That can sit down with a pencil and show people things, how the numbers work and all that. And he's so convincing. I had a guy. He might have had a higher IQ than anybody I ever met in my life. Most people that way are not very good salesmen. But I watched him sell people, and he had a good pencil pitch. But what he did know is every single detail about every single product that was on this particular item, right? So he was selling a big RV. I listened to him. And probably the worst salesman I ever saw, heard in my life, but people trusted him because he could tell you the part numbers, he could tell you all the equipment. They thought, well, this is the guy that's going to teach me, right, about this stuff. Man, that was huge. I learned something right there. My way is not the only way, and I wish I had his knowledge and he had my gift for gab. Man, be a nice team. It'd be good teamwork right there, but it's hard to get things it's hard to do things like other people do it. I haven't really found that to be successful. I listen to other people. I use some of their stuff, but I always put it into the way that I'm comfortable with. You know, I don't like forcing anything on anybody. I don't, you know, all I do is ask them for my, you know. And if you talk to me, you've probably heard this too, and this is something good. If you don't know it, is always be selling and always be closing. Does everybody understand what that means?
It's always business. Every
always
conversation revolves around business.
Yeah. And how many times do you ask somebody for their business? How many times do you ask them to sign on the dotted line? How many times in a conversation? A bunch. You need to be asking somebody for their business. If you're sitting down in a listing presentation, now that you've seen everything, are you ready to sign up? Oh, really? Why not? Okay, well, so it's just about, you're not for sure about the numbers? Well, let me get those together. Here they are right here. Let's go over them. Which one's comfortable for you? 500,000? Okay, awesome. Now then, we're ready, right? We're ready to list the property. We got the number right. Well, my wife, is there something wrong, ma'am? Did you not understand it? And, at some point, one of them will turn on the other one and start helping you sell. So if you just get in there and you start working with these folks, I'm asking them. That's called trial closing. Does everybody know what that word means? That's exactly the same thing I just said. Keep asking them for their business. Trial close. Will you do it now? Will you sign right here? Oh, no, why not? Okay, now that we've got through that. So what am I doing? Every time I'm taking away whatever their objection is. I'm listening to why they say no. And then when I get them to agree that we agree on that no, oh, 500,000? Awesome. So we're ready to sign. You know, I've got everything all filled out here for you. All right, so that's the trial close, right? All I'm listening for is a yes. I'm going to get there. I've done this. I've done this when I was brand new in this business. I kept asking, just asking over and over and over. What's keeping you from it? Why? I didn't know what I was doing. Actually, I wanted to list it so bad. My wife needed shoes. My kid needed food, and I was wanting that listing. I wanted to sell it, right? So, whatever motivates you. Me, I'm motivated by family. I want to make sure my wife has everything she needs, and I'm not gonna lie, I like everything I need to, right? I like to play golf. I like to have cars. I like to do the things I like to do. If you walk away and you didn't ask for their business, and you just set the stage for somebody else to ask for it. So how many times are you willing to ask? I promise you, until they run you off, you got a chance, right? And then when you're running and they're throwing you out the door, say, how about the signature? You forgot to sign, right? So I believe that. I believe that. And you say, what? And I've heard it's pushy. You know, I don't think it's pushy. It's just my last chance. What do I have to lose? You know, I don't. You know, some people don't like to embarrass themselves. I'm not that way. I try not to be too silly, and I'm really nice about things. You know, nobody's run me off yet, by the way, so I haven't been that persistent. And I know when to leave. Right. All right, so referrals we talked about, database we talked about briefly. You know, like I said, I can't do all this in an hour, but those are really important things that you need to work on. If you don't have a database, if you don't have a program to keep your database on, if you have some of these that will, like you had with the group you were in, that can call people back, that will keep up with it for you, you're missing the boat. It's absolutely amazing what some of this stuff will do. CRM, absolutely amazing. I'm a no CRM. I was an anti-CRM, I should say, until I actually seen one how it worked. I'm so old school. When you said CRM, I can't even tell you what it stands for. I mean, that's how old school I am. But the minute somebody gave me one for free and let me use it, somebody called me up out of the blue and go, I got your text. I think I'd like to talk to you about selling my house.
You did.
Of course, yeah. Being a salesman, I go, oh yeah, you got that, huh?
Good.
So another thing, you know, this is kind of a funny story, but sometimes I get calls from other people to say, hey, you know, we talked about selling my house, and I was wondering if you'd come over, and, you know, I don't have a clue who they are. I've never talked to them in my life, but my answer is always, absolutely, I'll be right over where you live, and, you know, we'll get to talking. So that's kind of the only reason I say that is, listen, opportunity is there. They're about to list their house, and what did I say? Go ask them. You know, weird thing about people, this is something I'll tell you about people. Once people make a mistake, they don't want to admit it. If you go over there and act like you know them, whether they see you or not ever in their life, they're going to act like they know you. That's a really weird thing. So you got a real opportunity. First, they invited you, right?
Who are you? The guy you called.
And if they say, hey, I've never seen you before in my life. I thought you were somebody else. You go, you know what? I understand. I thought we had talked to. I talked to so many people. I do millions of dollars worth of business. I sell almost every house I sell in this neighborhood. I mean, I list in this neighborhood. So I go right into sales mode, right? I'm gonna get past it. I'm gonna say, hey, well, I'm here, got everything. You know, would you like to go over it with me? I'll show you what I do. I think you really like it. You know, then it's about business. Tone it down and say, would you be willing to do that? You know, of course they will. I mean, give them your card. You're there. They're already dressed up. Wife cleaned the whole house up. You think he ain't gonna invite you in to see that house? He's gonna invite you in. First thing you say is, you guys really have a nice house. Did your wife clean this up? Wow, this is beautiful. Man, she's got everything in place, so pretty. It's gonna show so well. We're gonna sell this. Oh, wow, you know. Start building excitement and looking for things. You always look for things in the house that I have in common with the people. So I got something to talk about. And that's what I do for about 30 minutes is just look for things and talk to them. I don't talk about the house. So that's a different class though. But like I said,
get it. That's
yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah, and I did some good videos on that, and it's on our website. So if you get a chance, go look at it, because I mean, most of it really happened, and if it did not, it's some story I've heard or something I know that did happen. You know, I'll tell you great stories, and all this stuff that I say works 100% every time. It works. If you talk to people, they'll talk back. It works 100%. Now they might run you off eventually. That's okay. I haven't been thrown at, but I've been asked, you know, hey, I don't think I'm on the list with you, so. Are you sure you forgot that?
Here's the pen.
Pretty much, branding, you know, I've thought about it a few times, but I've never really done it. Like, I know they call Kelly the landlady, right? You ever heard that? Mm-hmm. Don't ever be known as the land guy or the landlady. I do, you know, unless you just love punishment. Land is really hard to sell. I don't want to be known as a land anything. Listen, if I have to sell it, I do, and I do get listings that, you know, are land, but it's usually, you know, from a cold call or from a mail out, and I just take it, put it on the market, and you know, if you price it right, it's going to sell. That's my theory. So if I tell them a price and it's what I think it'll sell for, really, really fair price, you get it, really good price,
So it'll move.
it sells.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there one day, and somebody goes, "Hey, I like that lot. Here's an offer. It's $50,000. We're gonna offer you full purchase price." Well, I mean, I ended up commission times 50,000, still $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, right? 10%, 8%, whatever you know. Try. You know, land. I don't do cheap. I mean, just me personally, it's 10%. I really don't. You know, unless it's like a big farm or something, but. And I can work with them, but that's, you know, it's negotiable. But I don't want to deal with it, a $10,000 lot and make $1,000. You know, that's pretty tough. I will, because why? I'm going to build a client out of that. You know, just another really good story is my biggest client ever was from a $10,000 lot. That's what he said he wanted me to sell, $10,000 lot. He had, and I'm guesstimating, because honestly I don't remember, but it's somewhere in the $10 million worth of real estate. He had $10 million worth. I knew that. I'd already looked him up. And trust me, when he said he was going to give me a $10,000 lot, I said, I will sell that thing if I got to buy it myself. You know? Why? Well,
Generate business.
Well, he listed, I sold that lot just like that. Somebody was building in that neighborhood, they called me. It wasn't me, just God sent. God took care of me. But after I sold that lot, he gave me the next one at 1 million, the next one at 1 million, the next one at 1 million. And it's all, I sold every single one of them within 7 or 8 months. On a 20, so don't discount anybody. You know, make sure that although we may not make money right there, and they'll call you back. You sell that lot for them. You give them that love, they're never going to forget you. So, but as far as soliciting it, I don't necessarily do that very well. But I would, it's not a bad way to go. If you need practice on the phone, I advise you to go look up about 10,000 lots and call them people. Why? You're going to get confidence like you would never believe. People that own land, they want to sell it so bad most of the time. They've had it so long. Man, I had a lady from California call me one time, and she said, my mother just died. I got she said, I got property out there on J.L. Road in Seville. And I said, okay, awesome, let me go look at it. So I give her a price that's worth about $100,000, you know. She said, all right, sell it. You know, it's that easy. You know, because I mean, I'm pricing. Remember, I price land right.
Yeah.
So when she said that, $100,000 times 10%, it was $10,000, right? I was perfectly happy with the number. Now, if she said, "Nah, I think we're $200,000. We're not going to sell it," then I'm going to go. You know, I can't sell it for that. I'm not going to run around people around that property and go backwards and forth and have a bunch of calls, and then it's not going to appraise. Nobody's going to want it. So, you know, that's kind of the things I'm thinking of. I'm not going to just list something just for fun. You know, I have to be able to make money, even though she could be a client. I didn't perceive her being as one. She lived in California. It's the only piece of property she owned, but could have got a referral or something. But anyway, it worked out. So while I'm over there hammering the sign in, the neighbor comes across the yard. He says, "I'll buy it." How much is it? Those are questions I love, right? He said he'd buy it and then asked me how much it was, right?
Yeah.
He was a business owner in town, and once he told me who he was, I knew exactly his business, and he said, "Yeah, I've been looking at this. I want to buy it." I said, "Okay." So it hadn't even been through probate. He called me back, so my attorney said it hadn't been through probate or anything. He said, "But don't worry, Will, I'm closing it anyway." He said, "I'll just wait till probate's over before I'm not going to sell it anyway." So I said, "Great." But he owned the property across the street. He'd been looking at it. Yeah. So guess what that was off of? A postcard. So I've got farms off postcards, and I've done this real simple thing on a plain postcard. I wrote, "I have buyers looking for property like yours. If you're interested in selling, give me a call." And then I put my number on there. I hand wrote that. I sent it to a black and white printer. I had them printed on black and white. You couldn't tell I wrote it, or it was in my handwriting. All of it was, but it was all copied. So I had 1,000 cards. I sent out thousands of them. And
Where'd you get the cards?
I just made it up.
You just drew something up?
Yeah, on a postcard. I just wrote it. Just hand wrote that on a postcard. Put on the back of it my information, Will Cup, my real estate company. I sent that out. My phone still rings today sometimes from those. I sent them out 10 years ago. Somebody will say, "I put that in my Bible, and I thought if I ever sowed, you seem like a nice boy." You know, "Yes, ma'am, I sure am. Thank you for going." But it's true. Those things, it just tells you how long your name will stay in somebody's mind if you reach them. You just don't know. It's a true story. People have told me that. I put this in my Bible, and I thought about selling. I remembered I put it in there, right? So, I like postcards. I do believe this area is not saturated with them anymore. I do like a simple postcard like that. I send them out to a lot of different people, especially lower end properties.
How do you pick your addresses? Or do you just send
I do out of state. I don't do in state, because people that own out of state property. Now, my primary business is always, I found this niche, and I've used it my whole life. Even today, I only deal with out of state people because I don't have any competition. They don't have a realtor. They don't have an uncle. They don't have a mother, father, brother that's a realtor here in this area. So I don't have to compete. If I can win them on the telephone, and obviously I have a buyer looking for property like yours, is a good opener. Now, what do they say when I send that out? "Do you really have a buyer?" "Sir, we have lots of buyers in this area. I want to know who's selling. How can I take them out? I couldn't show them your property unless I knew the people that were selling." So I'm trying to find property. But listen, if my guy's not good for you, or my company don't have anybody, I promise you, there's so many people looking for property right now, you wouldn't believe. And of course, that's been true. Right? It might not be as true now because actual land is starting to slow down quite a bit. Right? High-end land, I don't know anybody buying it really. I mean, except D.R. Horton and places like that. They're really into building, developing. But it's hard to afford it, and it's hard to develop it. And prices of homes have leveled off a little bit. Still selling good, but building has slowed down a lot. All right. So, I mean, there's some database strategies. We talked about the 100 people thing. it's kind of a magic number in my mind. I always try to work in hundreds because I guess I'm a simple guy. So how many hundreds does it take me? I need to call 100 people today, 100 people tomorrow, 100 people in the morning, in the evening. You know, find out what number. You know, if you can use whatever number you want. If you're willing to call 500 people a day, I promise you, I guarantee you're going to get leads. I promise you, you're going to make $5,000. I promise you, there is no way, unless you just really need to. You know, unless your skill level, and I've met people that they're not very good at talking, so they're going to have to work on it. 500 people is not enough. You call 500 people in a day, there's only maybe 100 answer. Maybe, yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah. So when I say 500, it sounds like a big number, but let's break that down. It only means 100 people are going to answer. There's that magic number again, right? 100 people. So don't think, you know, because if you sit down and you have a goal of 500 calls a day, it's not like you're going to be having 500 conversations. Really, if you can get, you know, if you set aside 2 hours a day, it's going to be hard to get 100 people talk. You can't talk to 100 people in 2 hours. You can maybe talk to 10, 15 people. So you probably got to spend a little more time if you're new on calls. Do things like birthdays. You know, we've all heard this. The new thing that I like is quick videos that you can send people. You know, I love that. That's pretty cool stuff. I make a lot of videos here. You know, I enjoy it. But what amazes me is I've had people call me just randomly and go, "Hey, I got your videos. I love it. You know, aren't you Will? You the guy in the videos?" And Ariel's doing it all. I mean, she's sending them all out. She's marketing them. She's doing all. You know, it's for True North. Man, I think we got a 30% open rate. So 30% of the people we're sending them out there are actually watching them. You know, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge amount of people that are, you know, and that expands to everybody that you can get in your circle, your Facebook video. Send them a, "Hey, how you doing today?" You know, things like that are fantastic videos. Somebody sent me a video, you know, just basically saying hi to me that I knew, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," you know. I didn't mind it at all. It was just a few minutes, you know. Good to see him again, right? This is one I like. I think this charity golf scrambles. You know, anything that you do that you can group with people. Any event, charity event that you can go to. So I'll give you a good example. This is something I've never done in my life. Never done. So I went to an activity where 100 to maybe 150 vendors were there. I've never done this in my life. I said, okay, I'm gonna take all my cards in there. You know, see what happens, right? So I went up. I go, "Hey, I'm the new broker at True North Real Estate Advisors. Just want to come up and say hello to you. What do you do?" They said, "Well, we do this." I said, "We'd love to have you come by our office. Why don't you set up a time? We'd love to come by and see what you do." And then at least 20 of those people out of 150 called me back. 4 of them signed up as sponsors here. One of them gave me a listing and also a lead of somebody, an agent that could come in here and work for us. I really didn't even go there for that. I really didn't. I just said, "Hey, they're having an event. I want to go do that. I want to see." I'm curious more than anything. As horrible as I thought I was at it, I actually probably was the only guy in there that took the time to speak to every single one of them and shake their hand. Everybody was there to get a prize. I thought, man, there's just so much more.
Means a lot, though.
Yeah.
Make that personal contact.
Well, Robert, one of our vendors, he was there, and that's how I met him. And he said, "Well, you know, you're the only one in there that's asked me to come over here and come and talk to me. You're the only one." There was 350 realtors there that day. I was the only one that asked for his business. Just asked. I mean, it was enlightening. You know, I'm amazed at how it really does work. It's easier for me to teach when I see that it works, even when it wasn't what I was doing. But it's just so easy. It just falls into place more than you show up to an event that has 300 people, shake your hand, shake every one of their hands, make it a go, and just have a really good line. I'm Will. Don't try to be too much. I'm a realtor. I just want to shake your hand. You know anybody that's buying or selling? I really would love to help them. You know, have a really nice tone of value. Be genuine. And I'm blown away by the response you're going to get out of 300 people. And there's all kinds of events out here. We're going to have one over here. Our backpack event is going to be huge. You should be there. You should be shaking hands. You should be talking to these people. These are the kind of folks that they're middle class people that they're buying homes.
Yeah.
You know, network them. Get out there and talk to them. Introduce yourself. You can shake the same person's hand that she shakes, and they're going to ask you about real estate, not her. Same vice versa. He's going to come up to somebody, and then you're going to come right up to him, and they're going to talk to you. I don't know what exactly that reason that is, but don't believe that because 100 other people talk to somebody about their for sale by owner that you're not going to be able to do it. That's not true. The more you hone your skill in, the more you know what you're asking for, the more your goal is to make a second appointment, the more the reasons you have for making appointments. You know, for sale by owner, there's at least 100 reasons I could come back and help them in there. Truthfully, do you have all the documents you need? I'd be glad to give you some, man. I've got some old. I can Google you. I mean, I can get you some purchase and sale agreements. You'll probably need one in case somebody wants to make an offer. There's some good generic ones. I'll give you some. You'll like them. They're easy to fill out. Or do you have your property condition disclosure? You know, those are reasons to come back. If you don't, the state requires it.
We can give them a DNA.
You can give them not ours. You know, Ariel did a class, and it's on video, and if you haven't watched it, it's called block scheduling. If you don't do block scheduling, you're probably missing the boat. You don't really get it, how this stuff really works. And it goes right along with what I told you earlier, which is you have to do this like a business. You have to go to work every day, and you have to let everybody know, this is my schedule. I'm sorry. Doesn't mean you can't answer the phone, be nice, but just let them know you gotta get back to work. They'll get it eventually. Some people will, but some people will still call you.
She's got handouts from that class.
That's a wonderful class. I know we did, also Robert, we got all those videos, and he goes way into more detail with how to set up a business. And truthfully, if you really, really want a good perspective, Ariel has a great perspective on how to do your block scheduling, your timing, and I think Tim Stout Group has a wonderful way to set up a business and how to run your business. Robert and Candy have a wonderful class that Robert would be glad to sit down with you individually and talk to you about.
He's actually done that with me.
Did he do it for you too?
No, we were actually discussing the self-directed stuff.
So he's actually a paid teacher, and he does a really good job. I mean, what do they call those? I can't remember, but he does actually advising work. So he's really good. I was impressed. I really wasn't expecting when I invited him here how organized he is, how many classes that he actually taught. They were all good too, very interactive. Really kind of broke everything down for you. Have him do the pie chart for you if you weren't in that class. Write that down. He's really good.
Are those recorded?
Yeah, they're recorded. Yeah, it might be good to sit down with him though. That's a pretty interesting. He can give you the pie chart, and I'll try to get it from him too. It's worth having. It's worth going over pretty regularly. You know, if you're like me, you got to actually tell me something 20 times before I actually use it, and I go, oh, wait a minute, I need to start doing that, right? So, but you got to see it. It really caught my eye. So I'm going to cut the class. You know, I mean that's quite a bit of information, but here's some things that we need to remember. Okay. That's the thing with a pie chart is know how many calls you got to make, know how many for sale by owners you got to go to, know how many expired listings you got to call, expand on all those things. figure out how much money you want to make in this business. You also need to know, you know, this is something we didn't go over, and this is a little harder subject, which is stepping up into what you believe. So I grew up, we didn't ever own a home. $40,000, $50,000 home to me when I first started in real estate was a lot of money. And I was so simple-minded, that's the way I thought, right? So I had to sell, to be in the $1 Million Club, I had to sell a lot of $50,000 houses. That's what the average house sold would sell for, 50 to 100,000. That would be an average house in my area, right? That's a lot of houses to have to get to the $1 Million Club, right? But that's how my mind thought. I thought that was a lot of money. Well, I always tell my kid, if you think $100 is a lot of money, $100 is a lot of money. If you think 1,000 is a lot, it's a lot. If you think 100,000 is a lot, it's a lot. So however you want to expand your mind, but remember, you've got no limits. You know, there's no limits. You can go out here, your license covers you for $50 million to $100 billion. Whatever you can, if you think small, that's what you're going to get. You're going to end up out here fishing for small stuff. When I got to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, thank God, it just by the grace of God, it expanded my mind, because there were no $50,000 houses in Pigeon Forge. So all of a sudden, the low was $300,000 for me, right? I never sold a $1 million house before. It took me many years to sell a $1 million house. But now, if you call me and say, hey, I've got a $5 million property, I go, awesome, buddy, let me come out there and look at it. Before, I'd be like, really? Wow, you know, I'd be tore up inside, because it would just be, my mind wasn't that expanded. But now it's just like, well, I realize something. It's all the same. I get asked this question: do people that own $5 million houses, are they different? You know, how do they think?
Not really.
Not really any different. I have the same good old boy attitude with them. I have a little more information a lot of times. Maybe that's because, you know, but really what I do is they like me or they don't. And it was really the same if I walked in a $50,000 house. They either liked me or they didn't, right? If they liked me, they gave me the listing. If they didn't, or they had a brother or sister or uncle or somebody that was in it, they weren't going to give me the listing, right? Same thing. So expand your mind, expand what you think, go after bigger things, because $200,000 or $300,000 medium will make you $5,000. A $1 million home will make you $15,000 medium, but also could make you $40,000 to $50,000. Okay, so that's the way you got to expand your mind. You'll like those checks much better. Makes that $5,000 check, you know. Yeah. All right, guys, I appreciate it. You guys got any questions? Because I'd be glad to help you. Anything that you specifically came here to know today, or?
No, I think you covered what I was after.
You're all right, Danny.
FSBO, what about expireds? Same principle with FSBOs?
You know what? I think the easiest way I got expireds was to go up to the expired door and knock on the door and go talk to them. Meet them. Let them know that your company has people that want those kind of houses. Ask them when they work with a realtor. They can be really, really standoffish because they've had so many calls from realtors. You got to get them in their element. You have to be able to get that. Going to the house changes them a little bit. They're not likely to be as mean to you.
I did that one time and it worked.
It does work. Yeah, it won't work every time, but it does work. Another thing is, that's a good way to use some of the things that I told you. And this is the thing that I was successful with, I felt like other realtors weren't, was for sale by owners, is I would say, hey, you're going to need some paperwork. Do you have it? There's a few things that the state requires. Property condition disclosure. They have generic ones. You can download it for them. You're going to need purchase and sale agreements, right? Also, I'll be glad to bring those over here and drop them off. Will you be here tomorrow? I'd be glad to also bring by some market stuff, because a lot of people that come to your house, they don't really know what your house is worth, and it's good that you might be able to show them the value of it. And also, Mr. Seller, did you know that most buyers now sign up with other agents? Do you know how to read contracts? Do you understand they're pretty complicated? And, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm sure but I mean, I really got to read some of them. You don't want to get trapped into something, you didn't understand. And remember, those realtors work for their people. They don't work for you. All I'm saying is, if you need help, I'd be more than happy to sit down with you, explain how we work. And I know you put that sign in the yard, and I know you got it on Facebook. Do you know how dangerous it is? People come up to your door and not put that sign in. Yeah. So I promise, man, with all that I believe in, those things have worked, been almost bulletproof. I have turned people's heads and immediately made them, I could see their mind. I could just watch them. Their eyes they'll go from like this, well, I can do it, and then all of a sudden they're going, I never really thought about that. And then I say things like, you got a job? You work? People want to see your house? I don't have time to show it. Well, not everybody works on your schedule. And you may be missing the buyer that pays full purchase price, and all these yahoos coming by here in the evening time in their work truck ain't got no time they ain't got no money to buy your house. That's another thing. So you sign somebody up, they want to buy your house, you fill out a purchase yourself. How do you know they can buy it? What research have you done? How do you have that information? I can build a case so strong that if I walk out of there and you don't want to list with me, I'm going to be real suspect about the way you're thinking, right? That's the truth. I don't really, listen, I listed my own father's house in another area that I didn't work in, right? I listed it because I didn't want to go there every day. I couldn't service that property. I wanted the most amount of money I could get. I also paid them a full commission rate, 7%. I said, take what, half that. I want half between the buyer and half between you, the agent. I want y'all to get paid. Let's all get in here and let's sell it. Let's make some money. I tell that story. I tell it in passing because why? Sooner or later, I'm going to have a commission conversation. I've already told you, by little cheats like that, I've already set you up for what a commission's supposed to be, right? Or what it could be, right? Why? What's the benefit of it? I like to motivate people. Money motivates. Don't say that's the only reason your house is going to get shown. That's not true, and that's not good ethics. But give them reasons why a commission rate is fair. All the different things. I think it's 101 reasons that we make the money we make. It's on the NAR website. It's 101 reasons why to value a realtor and why we get paid what we get paid. If you haven't looked at those and studied them, you're missing the boat also. It gives you ammunition beyond ammunition to answer so many questions that you're going to get. And you're going to, when you get those 100 reasons why, sit down and write at least 2 or 3 questions that you're going to get asked about that one thing. That one particular item that they're questioning, right? Why do you get paid what you get paid, And you don't
want to pay me hourly.
Yeah, ma'am, you don't want to pay me hourly. And you don't want to sit at home waiting for months at a time on properties to sell and overprice them and not selling. You and I both are in bad shape. You can dig and dig and dig. Once you know you're going to be their realtor, always make sure you're explaining things in past where they don't really understand what you're doing, but you can bring it all back in when you get ready to have that conversation about price, right? I'm always dropping things, little stories about, I had this one guy, he priced his house at like $200,000 over. Nobody ever showed it. And he was so embarrassed, he felt like his house was, and I went over and I said, hey, if you don't price your house what it's worth, it's never gonna sell. You're just, I realize you want more money, we all do, but it's only gonna sell. How are you gonna get it to appraise? So again, I'm throwing, and doesn't that make sense to you? If it's not gonna appraise? That's how I get for sale by owners. Okay. And expires. It's all about thinking about ways that they need you, and that you can show them examples of it, and come back for an appointment Expired's really good to get an appointment to go talk to them. Those are folks that want to sell. That was always my favorite. Everybody hated expired, but I loved them because I felt like, hey, they already admitted they wanted to sell, and they already admitted they wanted to be with a realtor. So I like them. I love them. Anyway, that's all. Thank you, guys. Hey, I almost kept it down.